music with smooth grooves. Have to tune in to MSC Network. And if you want the best place for the culture, the community, with good vibes, with good content for your soul, yeah. So tune in to the MSC Network, yeah. Tune in to the MSC Network, the MSC Network, the MSC Network. Tune in, yeah. The MSC Network, the MSC Network.
Hello. Welcome to the Rich Live Show. Happy Tuesday evening to you. I'm your host with the most. I go by the name of Rich Live in the ATL. I got my beautiful Smarter Than Me host by the name of who?
Lady L. What's up, MSC Nation?
Hey, how you doing, Lady L? How you doing this Tuesday evening?
I'm doing great, fabulous. And how are you doing? Are you ready for the holiday season?
I am ready. I am ready for the holiday season. I'm ready. I am fasting in my own kind of way. So I'm making room for those that's going to be preparing food. I do other things. I don't cook. Well, I won't be cooking Thanksgiving. What about yourself? What do you have going on?
You know what? That's still up in the air, but you know what? I am so thankful for the Thanksgiving holiday because, yes, it's a feast every year, and I look forward to having that feast. But you know, there's a reason why we come together and we feast with our family, and that's being thankful. So I'm excited about our topic that we're going to be talking about tonight about being thankful and gratitude. What about you?
I'm right along with you. So now's a good time before we dive into the conversation. It's a really good conversation. I want us to share the link, invite your friends and families in, your neighbors, everybody. This is a good conversation about being grateful. And now's a good time to share the link. So get on in the chat room if you can and say hello to us, and we will greet you right back. So while we're waiting on them to get checked into the chat room, tell them, let's talk about what the topic of today is about.
Yes, our topic is kind of twofold. You know, of course, like I said, you know, Thanksgiving is right around the corner, and we want to talk about gratitude and being thankful. So I posed a question to our listeners. You know, we have a global audience, and we're so thankful for you participating with us at MSC Nation. So I posed that question to them, and I was asking them, what are you grateful for? What are you thankful for? Is there anyone in your life that you want to show appreciation to? And I've got some responses back, and I want to acknowledge those viewers who are responded to the question. And you know, hey, you know, if you are listening globally, just like Rich was saying, please jump into the chat. Let us know what country you're listening from, and or what city, you know, in the U.S. are you listening from. You know, we'd love to have that interaction with you as being part of our MSC Nation. But Coach Rich, I want to read off these responses to my question that I posted to the listeners about what are you thankful for, and anyone that you want to acknowledge in your life that you're grateful for. So this is the response that I have. So we have a listener named Ronnie, and she responded and she said, I'm grateful for life, family, my health, and a closer relationship with the Lord. Gratitude. She says she experienced gratitude to Richard Adams for always believing in me, pushing me forward even when I was hesitant, also helping me with greater writing skills, etc., allowing me to fulfill my dream of being a part of the radio. It's just amazing. And she also is grateful for Daryl, and she says, I get gratitude for him being no more, no less, an amazing gift from the Lord. Then we have Bridget. Thank you, Ronnie, for sharing it with us. We have Bridget. Bridget is one of our listeners, and she was saying that she's thankful for the love and support of her family, her friends, her health that allows us to enjoy each day and the opportunity that comes our way. And then she said that she appreciates her mom for her unwavering support, the sacrifices she's made, and the love that she consistently provides. She says, I'm thankful for the values she's instilled in me and the lessons she has taught. Thank you, Bridget, for sharing what you're thankful for. And then finally, we have Jackie. Jackie is one of our viewers, and she responded saying that she's thankful to be able to see her daughter and her family. And she says, each day I'm grateful to be alive. God has given me a second chance in life. Richard Adams has inspired me to never give up on my goals, and I'm very thankful for his coaching experience. So that is awesome that we have the viewers that are showing their gratitude. And yes, to you, Coach Rich Adams. So
I appreciate that, man. That's a lot. That's a lot of love, and thank you guys for sharing your the things that you're grateful about. Leading, we do this traditionally. This is like our third year doing this. We do this every Thanksgiving as we lead into Thanksgiving, and just want to acknowledge the things that we're grateful for. None of us could have it all, or at least all at the same time, but we should acknowledge the things that we do have and the things that we should be grateful for. I got this post that I say that it's rare that we are 100% of the times, right? So we're most operating just below 100%. Sometimes it's 70, 60, 40. It goes up, but it's rare that you can be 100% of the times. So with that being said, that makes us human. So I just want to engulf into the conversation of gratefulness because it is healing. It is also therapeutic to be grateful. If you look at what you do have, that number really outweighs what you do not have. And one of the biggest things is life. So we're going to dive into that. And I want to peel some layers leading into the holidays for those that may be a little down, feeling a little somber, or may be missing someone. So holidays are kind of hot and cold for some folks. It brings back memories of those that are no longer here, but it brings joy and happiness. So we're going to dive into how we could celebrate without the blues, because that's what we're all about here on the Rich Live Show. Right, Lady L?
absolutely, that is our purpose. That is to help everyone have a better quality of life, to move forward in their life. And I must admit, this is something that will be definitely therapeutic for me. I always say that I am not perfect, but I can be perfectly transparent. So this is a topic that will be definitely helpful for me because I'm one of those individuals that around the holiday time, it kind of gets a little bit gloomy. You know, I am actually have lost both of my parents around the holiday season. And so it can automatically become a little bit depressing. But I'm not trying to say depressing anybody out, but I'm just being honest with that. And there's some viewers who may feel the same, just like Coach Rich was talking about. So we're going to dig into the topic of how to be grateful when things are not so great.
Right.
And so yes, and we're going to here to help everyone to dig into this. And so of course, my first question or first thing that we want to bring up is what is it what does it mean to be thankful or to be grateful, or what is gratitude? Because everybody has their different definition. And I think we need to help somebody out because some people may have the wrong perception of what it is to be thankful or to be grateful. So I wanted to ask you, Coach Rich, how would you define gratitude?
Um, the way it's simple. It's simple. It's basically honoring the things that you have and paying homage to what you have access to and what you are giving, and utilizing to the best of your ability all of the strengths, all of the mobility, all of the faculties, all of the access, all of the love, all of the joy that you do possess, that you maximize it, and you're very, very, very engulfed in fulfillment from what you have without the discernment of what's outside of you and what you're looking at. So this is a Rich Live definition of gratefulness. This is mine. I'm not reading. I'm not pulling from a dictionary. This is from my heart. And you guys feel free to add to it. But my definition of gratefulness is just being self-fulfilled with the low-hanging fruit of your life, which is everything that you have right now in your possession. Rather, it's the breath that you take, the ability to see, hear, think, and taste, smell, the ability to even log on to the show, the ability to have whatever family you have, good, bad, and different, the ability to have the life that you have, regardless if you look like a Coca-Cola shaped bottle or a guy with a 12 pack. Regardless of what hand you were dealt, gratefulness is enjoying and embellishing and engulfing yourself into complete gratitude for who you are, where you are in this particular moment.
Yes, that's awesome. And I want to recognize in the chat here, um, there's a question that was asked, and just to go back and revisit for those of you who are just joining us, we're talking about being thankful and being grateful and gratitude. And we first started out acknowledging, the question, what are you thankful for? And so I see here in the chat that we have a viewer, Ronnie. She says, what are you, Lady L, grateful for? And so let me answer that question. So I just acknowledge that, the holidays is difficult for me because it does bring back memories of losing my parents around the holiday season. So what I'm grateful for is the memories of being able to celebrate their life. And what I'm grateful for is that I'm here to do that. I am grateful for life and breath and being able to contribute and walk in my purpose. Whenever I'm walking in my purpose, like the Rich Life Show and he helping others, it helps me. It is me being feeling fulfilled. And so my definition, just to follow what Richard was saying, he was defining what gratitude is, so being grateful. And it's the opposite. It is just the opposite of not being dissatisfied, or I won't say dissatisfied. Appreciation is showing appreciation, and then if you are not showing appreciation, it's just the opposite of that. So I I just want to say, for me, having that epiphany or realization that, hey, I have parents, I have family, I have friends, I have a job, and just counting the blessings. That for me is gratitude. And that's what I'm thankful for. It's just being able to count the blessings, and I have blessings to count. So
Yes.
that's to answer your question. But yes, I want to hear from you. Hey, if you're in the chat, please answer, share, what are you thankful for? What are you grateful for? Who do you want to show a gratitude or appreciation to? But then for those of you who are like, things are not so great. I don't know how to have gratitude. So we're talking about that today. So I just wanted to recap for those who are just joining us. And so you gave a great definition of gratitude and what that is. So let's talk a little bit about that person, because we're here to help people. When things are not so great, why is it so important for us to have gratitude or to be grateful?
Well,
What is your thoughts on that?
that's a really good question. So I'm gonna have you ask that question again, because we're recording, and I want to kind of take that snippet and share it with the world. But before we do that, I want to acknowledge Sheila G. So happy to see you in the chat. I understand you were under the weather. You were in the hospital. Man, you bounced back like a mighty mouse. I'm so happy to have you back with us. So happy that you are feeling better. And I did get your question, and I got something I'll share with you offline on how we can probably navigate a little bit with you through this journey. Also, Ronnie and Music, thank you for those beautiful words and acknowledgments. And also Miss Freeman and Veronica, appreciate you guys. Happy Thanksgiving to you and everybody else that's in the chat. And that Cat Dave, wonderful show, great backdrop and all that good stuff that you're doing. I just want to acknowledge everybody that is in the chat with me and with us. So, with that being said, I'm going to have you, just to reset the room. This is the Rich Live Show, and I am here with my host, Lady L, and we're going over the topic of gratefulness. And it was said so eloquently by Lady L, but I want to kind of rehash it again a little bit. Is okay. Can you be grateful if life is not so great? So that
Yeah.
was like the meme I put out there. Can we be grateful even though life may not be great? So with that being said, I'm going to have you ask me that question again, and let me answer it the best that I can.
Yes. And so the question is, when things are not so great, why is it important to be grateful?
It's important to be grateful because most often when things are not great, we typically look at what's not great. The good way to counter that is to look at what is great. And sometimes, regardless of how bad the world is around you, you can just pick the lowest thing possible to be grateful for. The things we take for granted: oxygen, the breath in our lungs, the ability to have that involuntary muscle breathe on its own, the ability to have our brains tell our heart to function, tell our lungs, our liver, and everything, all of our body parts, our brain is telling our body to function. So just starting with the functionality of us just being here in existence, that is a great place to start with gratefulness. We often look at life from I call it the 100% rule. Most of us, and I used to be this way, when we're not at 100%, we'll focus most of our time and energy on the 1%, the 2%, the 3% we don't have. And that 3% and that small percentage that we don't have, it overshadows our life. And we forget to look at the 96, 97, 98% that we're functioning. Rather, it's 80% that we're functioning. We tend to focus so much on the percentage that we do not have. If we could revert to focusing on the mass, the majority of what is right, what's going right, the fact that you can hear, the fact that you can see, the fact that you have oxygen in your breath, you can feed yourself, you can bathe yourself, like you can function. And that's a high percentage than a lot of folks if we go to a nursing home, if we go by a hospital. So I just hope that by the time we're done with this conversation, that I have you thinking a little bit different and dynamic, and focus on the percentage that's higher, because the fact that we're here, that means we're operating in the higher percentage. That means we have more than we do not. And if we are grateful for what we have, what we do not have becomes a little bit more minute.
Yeah, that's very well said. And to add to all that wisdom that you have shared, which was awesome, um, you know, I would say this, a lot of people are walking around sleepwalking. I myself was one of them, just simply existing. And a lot of people will pacify the pain, and they don't even realize that they're pacifying the pain just to cope. And there are different ways that people are self-medicating, and it's not exactly what you think. There's so many ways that people are doing that. But whenever you pacify the pain, or whenever you're self-medicating, eventually you will crash. And so I believe that you should address with that, because you cannot heal what you hide. And whenever you're dealing with the state of where you are, it is okay. You've heard that saying, it's okay not to be okay. And when you recognize that it's not okay, and then you can actually realize that gratitude, and that's what we're talking about today, thankfulness and gratitude. To answer the question of why is it important, to add on to what he was saying, it's important because I believe that gratitude is what helps you, propels you to move forward. The science has showed that there's a chemical reaction that happens in the brain whenever you are showing certain emotions. And with gratitude, that's one of them that helps us to perk up and to be healthy and to move forward. And yes, we can talk about that perspective, but I believe being holistically healthy, gratitude is part of that. Appreciation, being thankful, and realizing that it's like, Coach Rich was saying, you can focus on the 1% of things are not going right, or you can focus on the 99% and how things are going well. So thank you for answering that. And just to reset the room again, for those of us who are joining us, the topic is how to be grateful when things are not that great. And so the question I ask is how? I mean, why? Why is it important for us to be grateful? And so I know there are a lot of people that probably have some questions, and please feel free to put your questions in the chat so that we can address this. We're here to help. There's no question that's not too weird. So this is a safe place for you to ask those questions. And we don't want to gloss over this. We don't want to just give you this. We're not giving you cliches. We're being real right here. Okay. And so please feel free to put your answers and your questions in the chat. So I want to move on to the next thing about what you were just saying about the importance of gratitude and doing that. And so I would like for you to help someone when they are just not getting it. They're like, okay, Coach Rich, I hear you. Yeah, don't focus on the 1%. But man, that 1% is just like overshadowing everything. It's just hard for me to shift gears. What would you say to someone who's experiencing that and you're kind of like stuck?
It's going to sound a little gruesome, but I believe that if you're stuck when it comes to having gratitude for life, look at the options. And one of the main ones is to not have life. So gratitude starts at living. There's some folks that will do anything just to get a glimpse at a loved one. They'll do anything just to hear the voice of someone that have passed on. They'll do anything just to be able to breathe normal without a machine. They'll do anything just to be able to feed themselves or do certain things independently. Like, these are things that we take for granted. We are functioning so well as a society. We can do a whole lot better. But if we just look at the things that we do have that are functioning well for us and be able to contribute some gratitude towards the things that we do have, life becomes so much better when you realize that you have more than most. Let's look at the country, United States of America. With all the flaws and all the political issues, all the religious issues that we're having, all the homelessness and everything that's happening with disease and all of that, we're still the best country in the universe. We're still free. We can have this platform and speak our mind, and we can speak our truth freely. Now, there's a lot of work to be done, but with that being said, where else can you go in the world and be able to at least create a better society or a better community for yourself without any hindrance? So a lot of that is perspective. And what we're speaking about is how we choose to look at what we do have as opposed to focusing on what we do not. If you write on a piece of paper all the things that you do not have, and then you write on that same sheet of paper what you do have, you may need more paper. So I'm just basically saying that there's so much more that we can be grateful for if we really paid attention and tapped into our own lives. We're doing far better than a lot of folks.
That's awesome. I want to read some responses that we have here in the chat. We have Sheila G, and we are so thankful to have you, Sheila G, listening to us. She comments, when life isn't being great, it is the best time to be grateful. It's the small things that we take for granted. Waking up, grateful, breathing morning air, grateful, having family and friends that you can count on, grateful, the things that grandma taught me, grateful, and the fact that God walks with me, good, bad, or indifferent, life, grateful. So thank you for that comment. And it sounds like she's doing exactly what you said, Coach Rich. She's actually counting everything out, which is what you're telling us to do for those who are stuck and not able to actually experience gratitude. And we talked about what gratitude is. It is simply appreciation and looking at your blessings. And so we want to unpack that a little bit more as far as how to be grateful. We're hitting on the target, but let's get some practical steps because that's what we're here to do. We're here to help people. And so before you answer that question of how to be grateful or how to be grateful when things are not so great, I remember you said something to me, Coach Rich. I think it was a viewer that was saying, Lady L, she's always smiling. And I wanna talk about that just a little bit. And that I realized that my smile is just not for me. It is also for others. And I'm not saying that in a vain way. God has given me the smile, and I realize that there's a purpose in everything that He gives. And so I'm a firm believer of that. And so for me, I believe that if my smile is going to help somebody else to smile, if it's going to be contagious, then let me smile. And there are some times when I smile and I'm not really truly feeling it, but eventually the smile does become inward. So it's kind of like you were saying about the inner core and how you're feeling. And then sometimes it's like that smile that you have is contagious to others and someone smiles back. And then it is radiating from within. And so we want that was just one of the things I wanted to acknowledge. But let's help someone where they're like, okay, my core is not feeling it. We talked about those who are stuck, but let's give some practical steps. So what do you think of how to be grateful when things are not so great?
Affirmation, affirmation. The soul believes what the mind tells it, right? So I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I was with my daughter. She's out of school. She's 7. So she wanted me to play with her, and I was busy. So she pretended to be asleep, and she did that so well, and she was sleeping so well. But her intentions were not to fall asleep. It was to send a message that if you don't come now, I'm going to go to sleep. But she fell asleep, and it was the best sleep that she's had. The point I'm trying to make is that if you walk in it, it can become your truth. If you believe in it, it could become your truth. If you smile when there's no reason, you'll find a reason to smile, even if it's to smile at the idea that you're smiling for no reason. And this is therapeutic. Sometimes we have to speak to ourselves. Our brain tells us things that we don't necessarily want to hear sometimes. And you can reset your way of thinking. You can tell it to stop believing the things that are detrimental to you. You have control over resetting your behavior. You have control over the dynamics on how you move. I have this compartmentalized way of thinking, and that is to break things down. What boxes do these things belong in? What category am I in life? Is it something dealing with work? Then it stays in that box. If it's personal, it stays in that box. Is it health? It stays in that box. So I deal with it in an algorithm that's conducive to me. But what people typically do is they run everything together. I call it the flat tire syndrome. You're on your way to work and everything is going well. You get a flat tire. Now you need CPR for life. I can't believe it. There's traffic everywhere. I have a flat tire. I don't have a spare. Life is over. I'm gonna be late for work. Da 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 da. And then you may even think back to day before yesterday. And yesterday didn't work well either. I don't know what's happened to me. I'm cursed. We just throw everything. And I burn my toes. Everything just start going into that medley of that one flat tire. Well, if you compartmentalize that this is a particular situation and it will not last forever, this is only temporary, and then you deal with it, and then you move on. Stop clumping everything together because it all don't belong in the same medley of soup that you're making because it's going to taste horrible. Think in compartments.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. And you know, to add to what you're saying, your focus determines your reality. It really, really does. And some people don't really think about that. And it's all about the perspective. Do you see the glass half empty or half full? And I had to learn that with things that have happened in my life that was not pleasing. I had to look at what do I have left? I can focus on what I've lost, or I can focus on what I have left. And it is a choice. And you were saying it so eloquently about we have control and we can choose how to look at that and that perspective. Now, I have a question that's in the chat, and please feel free to put your questions in the chat. And Sheila G, she has a question. She said, can you be grateful to show gratitude to people that don't give appreciation? So how would you answer that question?
Absolutely. Gratitude is one of those subliminal things where it has a radiating effect. And when you use it, typically the reward is internal for you. So when you show gratitude to those that you don't feel is worth it or receive your gratitude, it's not necessarily only for them, it's for you. So you can be grateful for someone that's in your life that may not be grateful for you being in theirs. But that's their struggle. It's not yours. So continue to manifest the greatness that you have in you, and they will have to deal with their own negative energy. But you will feel good and sleep at night that you've showed your gratitude for them being in your life in whatever capacity. So gratefulness is not necessarily a reward to the recipient. It's actually an internal feeling that you give yourself just by showing gratitude.
I think that's awesome. I want to do a different spin on this, if you don't mind, because I was thinking about this as well. And some of the things I was thinking is that you cannot appreciate the sun if you don't experience some rain. And there's a season for everything. Now, with this, what we're talking about, you guys, is how to be grateful when things are not so great and being thankful. And so I looked at it also from this perspective of there are seasons that we go through in life. We're going to experience sorrow. We're going to experience anger. We're going to experience different emotions and different events that happen in our life. And when you experience those things, realizing that these things are going to happen, and that is also the reality of it. But then what happened? I believe that sometimes people get stuck. So the question I was going to ask is, what happens when you get stuck there? And I think when you get stuck is when you lose sight of the fact that this is temporary. And that's what Coach Rich was talking about. And so there are seasons that people go through, and that's another perspective I wanted to bring up and to share with you and get your input on. Do you think that it's a good point of view or focus of looking at it like this is a season? And like I was saying, you can't appreciate the sun if you haven't had any rain. So, what is your thoughts about that?
I think you're spot on. I'm gonna add a little bit to that. Life is based on, and then we get to the comments that we have in the chat room. But life is based on contrast, right? There will, it would not be any intelligence without ignorance, right? There will be no light without darkness. We don't know what health is without sickness. We don't know what sight is without a vision. So there always have to be contrast to appreciate the other side. Life always have two sides of it. Here's the caveat. You get to pick and choose what side you choose to see. You can see this conversation as great or not good. It's your choice. But the point I'm trying to make is life doesn't have its value without contrast. We don't know what rich is without poor. We don't know what hungry is without being full. So we have to always embrace the idea of contrast. And contrast typically is the negative side. And then the other side of contrast is the positive side. You get to pick what side that you want to be on.
That's awesome. Well said. And yes, we do want to get to the comments that are in the chat. And here I see Veronica. She has a lot that she wants to be grateful for, and she wants to share that. So thank you for sharing that, Veronica. She says, I'm so grateful and thankful for my family, my health and strength, and my faith in my Heavenly Father. And the gratitude in my heart fills me with love and contentment. I am so blessed. I love what she says. She says contentment. I thank you, Veronica, for sharing it. I wanted to bring that up. Contentment is a blessing. It is a good thing because contentment, my definition for contentment, is having peace while you're waiting for your circumstances to change. That's my definition. And when you have contentment, you can realize things that you're experiencing are temporary. This is a season that you're going through. It is not permanent. And so contentment is something that you can be blessed with to help you when you're going through those difficult times. Yes, please put your questions in the chat if you have any questions or any comments. We're talking about how to be grateful when things are not so great. And so, Coach Rich, you were answering the question of how to be grateful and breaking down practical steps. You talked about affirmation and you talked about having the right perspective. And then the contrast, realizing that there exists contrast. Is there anything else that you want to share to give practical steps to help someone who are just going through a difficult time and they are struggling with being grateful?
I think that is a very good question. I think we all get to a place where we are so self-absorbed with life and our own life, and we think we think as an individual who is going through circumstances by themselves. Sometimes we get into this bubble way of thinking to believe that we're the only one that's dealing with the current situation. We're the only one that's dealing with deficit. We're the only one that's dealing with loss and pain and hurt, divorce, shame, health. We're not the only one. There is a template for everything that exists in this life. And the reason why there's a template for everything that exists in this life, you want to know why? Because someone has done it or been through it before. And that allowed us to recognize how to deal with it and how to diagnose it. So the moral of the story is when you get so wrapped up believing that you're 3% negative, you're 5% negative, you're 15% negative, is just you and no one else in the world is feeling the way that you feel, you'll be amazed at how many others are feeling the same way. The question is, what is your contrast? How do you choose to look at it? How does it work well or how does it not? How is it positive or how is it negative? So it's kind of like someone saying, if you consume this cookie, there's a 99% chance that you can enjoy it. But then there's a 1% that, some folks have been critically ill or even passed away from eating this cookie. We tend to focus on the 1% and not enjoy the entire cookie. My thing is that it's just like I fly a lot. And I always remember that we always think about when they tell us to bring down the pocket mask and save yourself first and protect yourself first and where the floats are, where the exits are. When we go through all of that with the flight attendant, they always end with it's less likely to happen. But in the case of an emergency, and if it does happen, this is what you need to do. But when I look at the algorithm, I've been in far more car accidents, and I know people that have been in far more car accidents than plane crashes. So sometimes we get stuck on the what if and what could happen, and we live in that 1%, and we're prisoners in the 99% that we are free. Let's reverse that.
I agree. So I've got another question for you. Let's address that person who has a pessimistic type of point of view, or they may have that attribute. And whenever we're talking about having the right perspective, when we're talking about looking at it the right way and the contrast and everything that we're sharing, everything that we're saying here, there are some people who may think that, you're being delusional, that, you're just like, you're avoiding whatever the situation is. What would you say to someone who's just like, oh, that's delusional, there are some people who truly believe that people are just in a happy pill and they're just on a happy high and a happy pill and they feel like that's just not realistic. What would you say to someone who had that point of view or feel that way?
Simple. You don't have to believe me and Lady L. Go speak to someone in hospice. Go to a place where someone felt that way all their life, and they'll tell you to not live that way. Do not live in bondage. Do not be a prisoner to the 1% that you're afraid of, the 3% that you're afraid of. Most people that are chronically ill or that may be in hospice, their biggest regret is that they did not go for it. They did not give themselves a chance. They lived in fear so much that they passed on without. Don't be that person. There are people that are living, that are using a small percentage of their heart, that are listening right now. Some folks are not using 100% of their heart. But you know what? I know these people personally. They're happier than most people that I know. They're living a more fulfilled life than people that are at 100% usage of their heart. The point of the matter is, if you want to be pessimistic, there's always room to find negativity. If you're a pessimistic person, based on what we're saying about how we can be positive and grateful for life, then that means that you are on the other side of contrast. And more than likely, unless you change your mindset, this is where you'll stay. So come on over to the other side of contrast, because there is a happy pill, and it's called gratitude. Take it.
I agree with you. Fear steals so much from you. It steals your time. It can steal a lot from you. And you talked a lot about fear and how there are people who regret having to spend their life in fear. I'm one of them. I was simply existing, living in a small circle, not really expanding and doing more than I could be doing. And that's not how to live your life. Well, I mean, hey, take our word for it, our experiences, learn from what we've experienced. But I also want to say about hope. Hope is there, and you can choose to embrace hope or not. When I was saying earlier about, there's a season for everything, what I will also say is that there's a turn. You have your turn whenever you're going to experience sorrow, whenever you experience, sadness or anything that happens in life, but it's temporary. But when your turn comes, then you have to realize that what do I have? Do I have happiness or joy? Let me explain that. Happiness is predicated by what happens. Joy is internal, and joy is something that will help you to pivot and turn and realize and take account of your blessings. And that is going to help you. You can let me just back up a little bit. If you are feeling sad, yes, feel sad. If you're feeling sorrow and grief, yes, experience that emotion, but don't get stuck there. So basically, what I'm sharing is when you have joy in your life and it's not so much happiness, and this is just my perspective, that it will help you to feel the grief or feel the sadness, whatever going on. Then you'll be able to make an easier transition to move forward as far as, you know what, look at what I got left in my life, counting your blessings, and then you can pivot and turn and embrace gratitude, which is all that we're sharing with you to do this evening. So I just wanted to share that with you. But yes, thank you, Coach Rich, for answering these questions to help someone who is pessimistic, mystic, and it's like, hey, this is y'all on this happy pill. I don't know what y'all talking about, but I wanted you to go back a little bit when you were talking about the fear. How can you help someone who is like, okay, I get it, you guys. I've been living my life in fear. I have been looking at it as the glass half empty, and it's been stealing my time, and I want to be more grateful. How would you help them, or what would you share with them to help them to move out of that fear?
Okay, well, let me go a little bit deep for the believers, right? This is the way I see it. I'm going to break it down, right? I'm going to go to the pulpit for a second. I believe that fear is sitting in darkness. Fear is sitting in darkness. Faith is walking towards the light switch, not seeing how to get there, but you have faith that you will, but you cannot see the switch. So fear is sitting in darkness. Faith is walking towards the light switch. And once you turn the light on, there's the hope. The hope is the light. Now the goal is to get on the other side of the door. You have to turn the knob and believe that that same process that it took you to get out of darkness, to walk towards the light bulb so that you can find the light switch and you can turn the handle and open the door, that same process works on the other side of the door. But most of us don't do it. We don't use it. It's the same principle. Walk in faith. Hope is the light that leads you to your destiny. But we have hope. But a lot of us don't deploy the action that it takes to get out of the darkness. So don't just walk in hope. Don't walk in fear. Take action to get to your destiny. It's not going to fall in your lap. So a lot of us feel sorry for ourselves and we sit in this darkness, and we don't have to be in this darkness. We don't have to be in a situation where we're doing the same thing, getting the same result. You don't have to be there. You just have to believe that it's possible. Don't be pessimistic. But if you're around pessimistic people, then guess what's going to happen to you? You're going to adapt that mentality because you cannot unhear pessimism. You cannot unhear it. You cannot unhear negativity. But what you can do is use that contrast to get on the other side of it. So get on the other side of the door. There's so much life to live. There's so much more to live. Let's stop focusing on the small percentage that we got wrong, the small percentage of health that may have already degenerated, the small percentage of the no's and the small percentages of loss. There may be 87% that is great. Go get the 87%.
That's awesome. And you know what? It's like Dr. Marcia says, life be lifing. And we're not talking about ignoring that. We're just saying, looking at your perspective of that. And so it's so easy to give into fear. I think people realize, and that's the easy way to do is to give into fear and disbelief. And what you just shared about the same steps that you took to get into the fear, you can go towards the faith. I don't think you want to really, I think we're helping some people. I don't know about you. I think we're really helping some people to realize that this is attainable. It can be done. This is not just a happy pill. But you were right. Who was around you? Who was influencing you? And then you can choose to be the thermometer of the situations. When you walk into situations, you can reflect that same attitude, or you can be the thermostat. You can change it, and you can walk towards the faith and the light.
Yes.
This is awesome. This is wonderful.
So
I love this.
Put some ones in the chat if this conversation is helping you. Put some ones or some hearts in the chat if myself and Lady L are helping you. I'm actually helping myself by listening to Lady L and listening to you guys and seeing you guys' comments as well. So it's therapeutic for me as well. We're always going through something. But when you recognize you're not the only one, it makes it easier to navigate. And I've always looked at things like we're going into Thanksgiving, and I'm thinking about those folks that will burn turkeys, those folks that will accidentally burn pies, or something don't go well. I'm one of those people that you give me the burnt pie, right? Because I'm going to find the crust and the part of the pie that's not burned. I'm going to scrape the top off, and I'm going to enjoy the pie. I look at what's great. I look at what's good. I look at what's salvageable. If you burn toast, I'm scraping it. It's not all lost. If you develop that mindset of looking at what's great in any situation, that's greatness. I'm looking at what's good. I always look for the greatness in everyone and in every situation, every circumstance. No matter what it is, I look for what's great. What is the message? Even in loss, I celebrate what was great.
Yes.
My father-in-law passed away on my birthday, December 15th. I found so many ways to look at that as monumental, as a gift, a way to be remembered. You know what I'm saying? I just look at what's so great about every situation. I even snarkled at it and say, hey, you got me to the bitter end. But at the end of the day, I always look at what's great in any circumstance or situation, period.
Awesome. And I see we have some ones in the chat and some hearts in the chat. So people are identifying with what's being said. We are so grateful that you can identify with what's being said, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to help you. It's not just saying Thanksgiving, but being thankful. And let this not just be once a year, but all throughout your life where you are showing gratitude and living a grateful life is helping you to enjoy life. And that's what we're here about, for you to experience a better quality of life. It is not too late for you to experience it. You can pivot and change. You can do that today. You can do it now in this moment. And we hope that we help someone so that you had made some pivots and change in your life. Instead of giving into fear, you're walking to the light and you're turning faith. So we love it. So Coach Rich, as we're getting to wrap up our show, is there any motivational nuggets, because you are great at giving them, is there any more motivational nuggets that you want us to leave out with tonight?
Understand that this thing that we call life is we're here in the flesh on borrowed time. And once we understand that we're on borrowed time, hopefully we start to understand that this whole thing is manufactured and everything is temporary. But if we understand that we have no determination on when that last time is, when that last click of the clock, we should not take it for granted. That means be festive, enjoy it, celebrate every moment. Understand that every moment is someone's last moment. So
Yeah.
what an honor it would be for you to just celebrate the idea that you could sit in the position that you are in and enjoy the show or watch television or do whatever it is that you desire to do. These are all blessings. There's so many things that we could have not had. There's so many losses that we could have taken. Some of us could have not been here. You know, some of us are living the best 50% that we have left, right? So the motivation that I'm trying to leave you with is if you look at life for what it's worth, rather it's relationships, rather it is health, finances, surviving something, going through something, being on the other side of contrast, these are all gift certificates of this thing called life. And once we learn to appreciate what it is, understanding that we're on borrowed time, the minute you take your first breath is a gift. Being able to sit up in your bed is a gift. Being able to put your feet on the floor is a gift. And if we start with the lowest hanging fruit, which is the things that are involuntary, which is your lungs inflating, your heart beating. These things we take for granted, but these are gifts. You cannot stop your heart from beating on your own. You can't stop yourself from breathing. What a magnificent human being or species that God made us to be. So being grateful for just being here and not being where you could have been or not being where you could have ended up. These are all things to be grateful for. There's someone that wants the opportunity to be in your shoes. If you're functioning at 30%, there's somebody at 2% or not even here that would take your 30%. Some folks take for granted the large percentage that we have. Some of us take our relationships for granted. Some of us take our own life and health for granted. The motivation is it could stop today. If you wake up tomorrow and appreciate the little things, the involuntary things that are happening in our body, being able to breathe, see, hear, think, taste, feed yourself, wash yourself. These are motivating factors to say that if I can do all these things, these are all gifts to me. How cool would it be if I take it from here and do what I'm supposed to do with it? Everyday life is nudging you into your purpose. Every day life nudges you into your purpose. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy all that it has to give. Die empty. There are no U-Haul trucks at grave sites. There's no way to transport what we have here. Live full. You know what? That's the best debt to leave the world with. Is spending it all and leaving it behind for someone else to take care of. Use your gift. Be grateful.
Amen. Very well said. Leave that legacy behind for your family. Give that gift of gratitude to yourself and leave that legacy behind for others as an example. I think that is wonderful and very well said. Say, listen, MSC Nation, we are going to celebrate. So we're going to say happy holidays to you for those who are going to be starting off for the Thanksgiving holidays and going into Christmas. And we're going to be looking at how we can do on the air holiday gathering with you. So stay tuned and listen up for how we're going to be advertising that as far as an on-air holiday gathering with our radio personalities. We're grateful for our listeners for tuning in. And I want you to stay tuned in as we're going to be, Dr. Marcia is going to be joining us tonight. She has a great show coming up. So we're thankful for all of our listeners. And Coach Rich, also, I wanted to just want to acknowledge all that you have done for us, and for those earlier, please watch the repeat if you can, how Coach Rich, we were giving gratitude to everyone and those in our life, and there's so many of us who want to say thank you to you and for the vision that you had of MSC Network. We're so grateful and thankful for you for that.
Oh, thank you, Lady L, for taking a chance with me, Bridget, the whole crew, Ronnie, Dr. Marcia, the whole entire crew, that cat Dave in DC, music, and everyone else that is involved in this organization. Just thank you guys. We have Dr. Sherman and Dr. Tammy coming on, and we have some new personalities that are coming on. It's going to be a wonderful thing. A few folks are leaving. So we're going to be really dynamic in 2024. We're going out with a bang, and we're coming in with a bang. But I want to say thank you to each and every one of you, sponsors, Sharon, and everyone else that has sponsored the organization. This started out as a faithful dream. I put action behind it. I got on the other side of contrast. They said it wouldn't work, but we're here. So I'm saying that to say this, that I'm really grateful and thankful for my family, the support that I have from my 7-year-old daughter, who knows how to govern herself doing these shows, my beautiful wife, who just sits in the background and makes sure everything goes well, and just allow me to be who I am. And then, of course, my mother, who's not on. Please pray for my mom. She's really under the weather and has not been doing too well. So pray for her speedy recovery. So we're praying for her that things get better really soon. She's really under the weather, so prayers to her. But I want to thank my mom for being my number one superhero and just being there for me 100%. Of course, my dad, who listens, but he doesn't chat. So thanks to everyone that is on this network and everyone that is listening. I am one of the most grateful human beings in the world because I am living my dream. And I've built a wonderful family around me. And that means you, and everyone else. So thank you, guys. Be blessed. With that being said, at the top, there's a yellow button that said Dr. Marcia's show. She's on, and she's going to continue this conversation. And she has a great host. So make sure you click that button. And know that Rich Live love you. Lady L loves you. And what?
There's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Until the next time. Happy Thanksgiving. See ya. Yeah.